Hello Plamo fans, today I'll be reviewing the Hobbiworkz CMP20T airbrush compressor. This compressor was purchased about 2 weeks ago from Hobbiworkz. They supply airbrush equipment nationwide in the Philippines, and they're based in Cebu, but they do next day shipping, so it's all good. Let's turn this thing on. As you can see, it runs very, very quiet. It's about as loud as a refrigerator. Very quiet. It takes about a minute and a half to fill up. So it gets louder as the piston has to work a bit harder to fill up the tank. So it gets a little louder towards the end. By the way, I apologize for the shaky video. I'm taking this with my iPhone. And there, it cuts off about a minute to fill up. So it comes with the gauge here, where you control the output pressure with this knob. Pull it up to release and push it down to lock it in place. It has the standard water trap, so if any time moisture builds up, you can just push this to release that water. It also has a release valve in the bottom for any moisture that builds up in the tank. So I'll probably see how much water there is in there after about a month that I've been using it. Right now I think it's still empty. So it doesn't really heat up that much. I mean, you can still touch it after one run. I've used it for about 2 hours straight and you could still touch it. It doesn't get that hot, but I would recommend, if you were going to do some airbrushing for extended periods, that you at least use a regular fan, you know, just to blow off some of that heat from the motor. But yeah, it doesn't really heat up, so I think it's good for long airbrushing sessions. The switch is in the back. It has a light for when it's on. So, and it has this handle up here for portability. It's not really that heavy, so that's good. I won't be moving it around a lot anyway. It's just gonna be here on the desk most of the time. So, and the gauge, I just twisted this forwards so I could look at it. I could see it while sitting at my workbench, but it comes upright, so facing upwards. I just twisted it this way so it's easier to see. So let's see how it works. I have it hooked up to my HD 130 BR130 airbrush, brandless, or I believe this is from Taiwan or China, and the hose is also from Hobbiworkz, so fits perfectly. Don't need any other attachments for that. I have this loaded up with a bit of gray, and I have this dialed in at about 10 psi. So as you can see, works great. And at 10 psi you can do some, oh, there's the airbrush compressor kicking in. So you don't really have to stop working while it's refilling the tank. It just, I think it's set a little bit high, so it switches on a little sooner than I want it to. But yeah, 10 psi you can do some close range detailed spraying here. And you can paint about for a minute or 2 minutes before the compressor kicks in at 10 psi. So there it goes again. So obviously, if you had the pressure dialed in at about 30, then naturally the compressor will kick in much sooner. So let's bring up that pressure to 30. And you might notice the needle will drop down a little bit once you release the air. See, so it kicks back about 2 psi once you release the air from the airbrush. So if you want a more precise adjustment, a more precise setting, you could just adjust the pressure while the air is on. And 30 psi. And you need to cover a larger area, you do that at a higher psi. So there you have it, the Hobbiworkz CMP20T airbrush compressor. It's really a lot better than what I've been using before, which was a Tamiya Basic Sprayworks compressor and the homemade compressor, where I used 2 aquarium air pumps. So I think now that I've been using this, the PSI of the aquarium air pump is a little low, so it is possible to airbrush with that setup, but well, you can't dial up the pressure for painting wider areas, so it's pretty much okay for detail work, but for painting larger things like maybe a car body or larger models, then you might need a higher pressure, and that's where you should look into investing into one of these compressors with a tank. So they do offer a compressor that doesn't come with a tank, and it's cheaper, but I think the tank is a lot better, because for one thing, you have an extra place to trap moisture, so anything that gets trapped in here doesn't have to go back up here in the water trap. So that means less risk of getting any water in the airbrush itself. So that's one thing. And another thing is that this normalizes the airflow. It eliminates any kind of pulsation that might be generated by the motor, since this is this is a piston type motor, there is a chance that you might get pulsation in the airflow if you don't have a tank. But with the tank, there is zero pulsation. So yeah, best compressor I've used so far, and I think I'll be using it for a long time. They also have larger compressors with two motors, larger tanks, so they have a wide range of products to choose from. So look into it. Hobbiworkz. They're on Facebook. That's facebook.com/hobbiworkz, and send them a message if you want to inquire about getting one of these or any of their other products. They have airbrushes, all the connections that you'll need. They got it. So that's all for now. See you next time. Keep building Plamo.